The order at 4:05 p.m. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have Joe Ferris and Kathleen Flashner here from the cemetery trustees to go over their budget detail for 2023. And we understand you wanted money put into the operating budget as well as a warrant article. And if you could just kind of explain to us exactly what you were.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kathleen, I met up with Randy, it was a couple of weeks ago, and we went up and looked at the Passaconaway Cemetery, which is our postcard.
Yes.
And that is absolutely horrendous. You know, shame on me. I've been on the cemetery committee for a few years. I know the conditions of the cemeteries, but I didn't realize how overgrown that actually is. And it's I have one woman that wants to transfer her lot over to her cousin, but I looked at that lot, and that lot is, there are trees growing in that place, so she can't even get in it. We really need to cut some of that stuff back. There is quite a bit of work there. Like I said, me and Randy spent a good half hour, 40 minutes up there and looked around and walked it really well. And that was before we had all the snow. He was going to try and start it then, but it's like, in the budget. So, we kind of had to wait.
Right.
That would be my recommendation. I spoke with Kathleen and explained to her what was going on. It'd be my recommendation, we put some money in. I know we have a lot of 23 grand in our reserve budget. But I really got to get together with Arthur's Memorials and have them take a look at the headstones, because we've got to start doing the headstones.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to get them all done at once,
Nope.
but if we can do half a dozen a year, let's start knocking them out, and that money will be used for.
So are you proposing that we start with the tree work this year?
Yes, if we can't put, we need to.
And from the trust fund, that tree work? Because it's additional than regular maintenance.
No, he originally had wanted the budget to be $9,000 and put it in the operating
Just for this year. Just for this year to knock
Because
out.
we talked about raising this anyway. The cemetery budget. The board had raised it from $4,500 to $5,500 after talking to Randy and to Joe.
Yeah.
And then after Joe met with Randy about the tree work, Joe asked me to raise it to $9,000. But again, the cemetery trust fund is for ongoing maintenance, so.
I would say that is for like what you're talking about, the tree work, the extra maintenance, not just the regular mowing and. That's why I'm wondering if we should do a warrant article for that, for the tree work alone, and then offset it by the.
Yeah, however you guys want to do it is fine with me, but we got to spend some money up that Passaconaway Cemetery, because that's.
So Randy wrote up this narrative. The first page is kind of covering why he thought and he recommended the operating budget be $6,000 from $4,500 to $6,000. And then he did you a second page that's the work that needs to be done at all the cemeteries. He's recommending 500 at Hammond, 500 at Canada, 500 to 1,000 at Moody, 1,000 at Wanalancet, 1,000 at Passaconaway, and then 1,500 for High Street.
Yeah, there's more work than 1,000 at Passaconaway, a lot more work than 1,000 at Passaconaway.
I was gonna say that's Canada Street that you're speaking of, correct? The one up on the.
No, Candia is on, I'm talking Passaconaway Cemetery, Russell Colville.
Oh.
That's the one I'm talking about. That's our postcard.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, and that is big time nasty. I mean, they've got it fenced off, but the trees growing
That's
up.
gonna be $4,000?
Yeah, it's gonna be a couple thousand anyway. couple, 3,000, I'm guessing. You know, and the thing is, though, it's, you can't pull up the stumps. Or some of them you can't pull up. There's extra work at the High Street Cemetery, he's gotta finish putting the posts in.
This is the other packet. This way.
And then, you know, a lot of these cemeteries really need to be, you know, cut back because it's big time encroaching. And we went around, we looked at, you know, past Conway, we looked at High Street, we didn't down around Lancet. And I'm familiar with, it's the one at the top of Drake Hill. Hammond, okay. Yeah, and that's what, you know, we still got a whole nother section in that can be cleared. If we have a new cemetery space. In any case, I want to express the importance, there's a lot of work. A lot of work that's gotta be done. I don't know if you
What
want to take.
number is the, I'm sorry, Jim. What number is the cemetery department?
41.
41?
41.
Oh, here it is, 4195.
95, bottom of page 3.
Okay. So right now we have the regular operating budget sitting at 6,000. That should give Randy the extra money that he wanted for an increase in addition to additional regular maintenance.
That's his, yes, that's an increase, because he hasn't had an increase in so many years, and that's his regular increase.
And I fully understand that and back that up as well.
Okay. Now, you might not want to go to 9,000.
9,000 for warrant article? For in the operating, the regular.
So you're correct, for the extra 3, and I'm just looking for 1 year. I'm not,
And what was that for? The extra
that
3?
that was strictly for Passaconaway.
I would put that in warrant article and have that come out of the trust fund.
Okay,
For additional
Yep.
maintenance. This operating budget should be for regular maintenance, mowing and
Yep.
so on and so forth. I think anything else should come out of the trust fund, which is sitting at 23,000.
okay, so if we get, so if $3,000 came out of that, we still lose
So
us
if we
20.
do, if we start off with $4,000, if he can start off with Passaconaway and get done what he can in there, and then next year we can move on to the next.
Yeah, Passaconaway far is the worst. By far the worst.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Do 4,000 if he can take care of more than Passaconaway.
So you're gonna have to talk to him about what that will entail, because he's only got 1,000 in here. This whole thing is only 5,500.
Yeah.
So we wanna just make sure that you and Randy are on the same page.
he's not gonna get all that done in a year.
No, I think he talked about doing 2. Was Passaconaway one of them, or was
Yeah,
Passaconaway?
Passaconaway was one of them, and then he was looking at Warren Lancet, because on the side of Warren Lancet, they have a bunch of cremation plots, I believe, and it was starting to grow up on that. You have the big, in Warren Lancet, you've got the granite columns,
Yep.
and then outside the granite columns, I guess on the east, on the east side, northeast side is where they have the cremation plots, and it's growing in
You
there.
saw this.
Yeah,
He's
no,
got one
yeah.
at Lancet at 1,000 and Passaconaway at 1,000.
There's way more work than 1,000 at Passaconaway.
Well,
So
My suggestion would be 4,000 for the warrant article,
Fine.
for the tree work.
Yeah.
And then offset it by removal from the cemetery fund, which that's what it's for.
Okay, so are you fine with that?
Sure.
Okay,
And then get done what he can this summer and then move on.
because I know he's gonna be busy, because he's got the
Oh,
hospital contract, so.
So let's not limit ourselves though. Is there brush? So whatever I put in the warrant article is all it should really be used for. So should
Additional
we call it
maintenance.
brush and tree work?
It's-
Additional maintenance, it could be in that, which includes cleanup, so just
Well,
additional maintenance.
it's not just cleanup, it's clearing.
But that's something to be discussed at a town meeting, we can explain,
Okay,
yes, this is for additional trees that are growing up through grave sites. Nobody's gonna argue that.
Well, Grace said that people, people aren't in there yet either, and people wanna go in, and it's like, well, you can't because it's a tree.
We just did, well, didn't you? We did this
Not
back
all
when
of
I
them.
was here.
Not all of them.
So how come in his normal maintenance, is that just grass cutting?
Yeah,
why doesn't he
leaf
have a-
blowing, he does leaf blowing.
But why doesn't he have a budget to maintain this stuff before it gets to the point where it's a tree?
Because that's what the capital reserve fund is for.
These trees have been growing.
Now, some of these are pretty big kill.
Yep.
So why,
He does do the regular ones, that fall down, or if there's a windstorm, he takes.
Actually, Coleman's do too, and the one down there, that the tree falls, the boys will go over and cut it up and pull it out.
just about everything?
But I've seen Randy in there doing the leaf blowing, so it's not just mowing.
I just don't wanna
That's
hold him
the
back
regular.
from doing more if he has the budget to do more, a yearly budget. So he
I
could
would give him the
choose-
4, because that's more than he's asking for, let him give him the 4, and then if he can move on from Lancet and Casa Conway, then let him move on to Canada Street and,
Yeah, if we don't mention, I'm just gonna say maintenance of cemeteries, so then he can start,
additional
Joe and
maintenance.
Kathleen and whoever the trustees are will direct his work of start with Casa Conway, tell us when you get a good start on that, if there's any money left over, then you can move on to Lancet,
Or
or
if you could explicitly say additional maintenance, because regular maintenance is coming out of operation.
I don't think DRA is gonna allow this, but I will, that's how I will write it. I think it's too vague and I think she's gonna push back.
Big is good.
I know big is good for us, but
When it's
DRA
accepted.
doesn't like it.
When it's accepted, it's good.
Well, leave it, then, I mean, why can't you, well, all right. that's
They
fine.
usually like you to
Start off
list
with
out
that and
some
we can-
part of the maintenance, they wanna know roofing, brushwork, tree work,
Brushwork, tree removal.
and, well, what you put is brushwork, tree work, not to be limited to other
Yeah,
maintenance, so you give them some, but I'll write it
Write
exactly
it
the way
as
that.
additional and then see what she says.
Yeah. So
that
4,000
should
with
So
it
4,000
coming from
coming
the
from-
expendable trust fund
Yeah.
previously established.
And then 6,000 in the regular maintenance, which will give him what he wants and needs.
Isn't that, I thought that was at 7 right now.
No.
It's at 6?
I thought he was just looking for.
Bottom of page 3.
40195, cemeteries.
Yeah, so there's 1,000 for the trustee's salary and 6,000 for maintenance.
Okay.
It's 7 for the whole
6,000 should
thing.
give him enough to do his mowing on the important dates. Because then those places aren't mowed,
Memorial Day, yeah.
God help
Memorial
you.
Day and 4th of July.
Agreement?
Yeah.
Agreement?
Got a motion?
We don't need a motion.
No, this is just pleasure work session
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank
Perfect.
you very much.
Thank you.
and thank you. Welcome aboard. Thank you for your email address.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we appreciate it, really do. We need more people coming in.
If you know anybody or have any friends that are gullible,
I
ask
think
them.
I
Three.
You saying?
Thank
No, hope. Not unless we
Thank
get
you
the rest of the budget.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye. Good to see you all.
Are we doing our meeting first and then budget
Nope,
stuff?
no, budget stuff
First
first.
the budget?
I would suggest that we start just going department by department, if you don't mind.
That sounds great.
So we'll start with executive, obviously selectman salary, town administrator's salary. I think we're all in agreement with everything there. Okay,
And we didn't give ourselves a COLA.
we did not give ourselves a COLA. No COLA. No COLA. Total 65,945.
And that is including the 3% on both.
That's including,
No, that's down in the next section.
Oh, just in this one. Gotcha.
Second.
go up.
That's just me.
Okay. Gotcha. Perfect. Great.
Okay. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Next, treasurer, deputy treasurer, their office, and travel. Their total's $10,910. Any discussion? Good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Next is town clerk tax collector. Salaries, office supplies, software support, postage, equipment, travel, conferences. And their total was $56,197 with their, I would call it cost of living increases. And their, yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, discussion.
No, that looks good.
Okay. Good with that one. Next is elections. We're down to one election this year. Supervisors, ballot clerks, moderators, supplies, advertising, and travel, which, yes, that needs to be in there. $1,650. Any discussion on that?
So that has that new line item, the $300.
No, I totally agree that that should be in there. We have to travel to Concord for training, that they should be paid.
I just wanted to make sure, like,
Yeah,
a question could
separate
come
it
up with
out,
something.
that's
new.
fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good?
Yes.
All right. Next is financial administration, the auditor, the office supplies, town report, printing, all of everybody's conferences and equipment, bank service charges, postage, travel, recording expenses, software support.
So the big one there is the new contract with CCS for IT services, which is all about security.
Again, in this day and age, you gotta do what you gotta do, and we need to be protective, even as a small town.
Yeah, and
As a small town, we're probably even more vulnerable, so
yeah, so
it's worth it.
Might be harder for them to find us because we're small, but if they ever do.
Right.
And we have documentation on everything
Support.
that is included in that. Because some of it is our contract and then some of it is to kind of beef us up to Microsoft 365.
Yeah. Okay, special town meeting, a trustee of the trust fund, engineering consultant. That total is $36,703. Any discussion? No? On to reval of property, our assessor and timber assessor. Our tax map updates and the software support for assessing. Their total is $23,600. I still think that's pretty cheap. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. Legal counsel, we have at $25,000.
So we had encumbered 15,000 for tax deeding from 21 into 22, but we didn't really spend it for that because we hadn't deeded until December. So that will fall into 12/31 unassigned fund balance this year. So the only way to really, we kind of still need it because we have those, I think we have 5 left. 5 left, and I have to talk to you about a couple of them, but we have some properties left that may require evictions or injections, the lawyer
Yes.
calls it. So, but Kathy and I had talked about what we can do is have an offsetting revenue from fund balance because that 15,000 is dropping into there. So we really just kind
Pulling
of
it back out.
appropriating it back out of the fund
But I think
balance.
we did 20 to cover the extra 5.
Yeah, because the chapel is gonna cost us
The
money
chapel.
because it has to go to court, so he's saying between 2,500 and 7,500, I think, for the chapel work at court, because, and we don't drive that, you know, whatever.
So we
he has to
increased
file
that
with
legal
court.
line item, the regular line item by 10,000. by 5,000, and then we wanna use some of the unreserved fund balance to offset that as well, to cover the chapel.
Right, because we also encumbered legal money for the chapel, I think 5,000, and we have about 3,800 left that's gonna fall into fund balance. So there's some money dropping into fund balance that we had previously appropriated. It's just because it came to you can only encumber for 1 year.
Okay.
So it's available still, and we still have the work to do, and people approved it, so just kind of
And
offset
our
it from
fund
the
balance is very, very healthy.
Yeah.
So, there's
Even
really
healthier
no, scared of using it because
Okay.
it's there.
Okay.
Well, more than enough is there. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Planning members, planning board, the member attendance, the secretary advertisement, operating expenses, resource material, travel and conferences, their total comes to 6,736. And if you recall, we had dropped their proposed budget, because they hadn't used it in 5 years. And we just let them know that if they needed to, of course they can overspend. They were hoping that they'll gain a few more members, but as they have not yet, I think this is the way to go, is make them budget from a zero-based budgeting. I was talking to Kelly, and probably in about 2011, the selectmen at that time adopted a policy of zero-based budgeting, which means you're budgeting from the bottom up. And over the years, they have only used approximately this amount of money. So you're basing it upon what prior year expenditures have been,
Right.
not what you potentially could be spending. As far as that, the member attendance is, so I fully support what we did by
Yeah.
reducing
No, I agree.
their proposed budget.
Yeah.
There's always the chance that they could get up on the floor and ask for it back.
That's fine.
And I'll speak against it. And this is just why, historically, they haven't used it, and they can always overspend.
Yeah, I mean, it's still,
And we'll give it to them.
they spent 4276 this year, so this is pretty much right in the middle of what they asked for and what they spent. So it's still $2,000 more than what they spent last year.
Right.
So that seems like pretty healthy.
I
It still
think
gives
so.
them wiggle room for more
Yes.
members.
Right, and if they have more hearings and have more operating expenses.
Which is offset by revenue too. I mean, you still have to first budget it, but.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everybody goes
I'm good with that.
736, okay. Onto the zoning board, they didn't have any meetings last year, but you always need to budget. This is budgeted for 2 meetings, with a full 5-member board. Their total is $1,093. And we might as well add in the Conservation Commission, their attendance and expenditures, and they have a legal line. I'm not sure if that's really necessary, but their total's 2,501. Is everybody good with ZBA and Conservation?
So they did spend 1,505 and we've only budgeted 15, so it could go inch over.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
They have the operating expenses, that's $878. I can't imagine what they spent in operating expenses, but. And I hope they're looking at their conservation fund, are they?
Yes, they're gonna use that for,
It doesn't have to be a warrant article.
they have, as a matter of fact, they have the full control over that, the board of selectmen does now.
Oh,
The
that's
only
right.
thing they cannot do with it is they can't purchase land without going through
Correct.
town meeting.
And it's still under the treasurer's.
Care, custody, and control of the treasurer, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Mhm.
Onto
Yeah,
government.
they're doing that management plan, it's like $2,500, and I think there's 93 or 9,400 in it, so they got
That's great,
room.
that's great. Government building, we have oil and heat, electricity, chapel lights, building maintenance and repairs, street lights, drinking water, town hall security. Our total is $16,594.
Oh, and that includes the furnace, that's right, okay.
Well,
Potentially.
it may or may not, but there's certainly,
We're giving ourselves a little wiggle room with that.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Going to cemeteries, which we just discussed with Joe, so 7,000. Is good with everybody?
Yes.
Insurance, workers' comp, property liability, health insurance, disability, dental, life. Totals 24,436. Good. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Alright. Moving right along. Regional associations, 2,678. Comments? No? Comment? Public safety, ambulance, sheriff, fire wardens, building permit administrator, no taxes for that employee. Totals 212, 223. Noteworthy is the fire and rescue, where we had an increase with our new contract of $23,000. We also chose to increase the sheriff's department to do an extra patrol, to split it out, to add Route 16 besides our neighborhoods. And that's in response to our NHDOT meeting here and listening to the concerned citizens as well as concerned fire and rescue from other communities. They felt that this was a way to help out. And I don't know about you, but I have seen the deputies sitting on the side of
Oh, yeah.
Route 16. So
That's great, yeah.
I think it's great as well, and their presence is known
Yep.
throughout our town. Is everyone okay with 212, 223?
Yes.
On to highways, I'm not gonna split that up. The total
Emergency management.
Did I skip it?
Yep.
I did. It's $1,225. You have maintenance and propane supplies, and this is just in case there's an emergency, and we have to open town hall as a shelter. We have to have propane for the generator, money in the operating account for supplies, be it water if we did have an emergency, food.
So we haven't finished the work on the local hazard mitigation plan update.
Okay.
So we encumbered the other, I think we paid half, so we've encumbered the other half, so we don't need to raise that 10,000 again. And so we should be all set. Hopefully we get it done in 2023.
Highways, 223,000, so he increased it, $7,500, he increased it.
Yeah, he upped the salt and the paving because of the cost of salt and asphalt. We used it. So,
He does a great job.
yeah, it really does.
Is everybody good with highway? Yes.
Yep.
Solid waste basically is the formula from town of Conway. I will say that that is an increase because of their quirky equalization ratio. This formula is based upon equalized values for Conway and Albany, and Conway's equalization ratio is really low, and it keeps falling.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, Kelly, you're hitting the mic and it
Oh,
sounds like an
sorry.
earthquake, that's fine.
So it's really sending these formulas a little bit crazy right now. They are due for a reval, well, they're not due for a reval until 2024. However, it is in the operating budget for this year to change that. But for now, this is the agreement, and this is the price to drop off our trash in Conway. Our Lower Mount Washington Valley Solid Waste District representative has become a volunteer. There's not many meetings. They actually fell off for a while. They tried to re-spark it a little bit and it fell off again. Wanna-Lancet, we have an agreement with Wanna-Lancet that our road agent will plow and maintain a short piece of one of their roads into Sandwich. 'Sandwich. And we don't have to pay sandwich. How'd that go? Sandwich has a small piece of road in Wanalancet, Curtis takes care of it, and therefore Wanalancet doesn't have to pay to bring in trash. I think that's the way it went. But we keep it
No,
a
we-
dollar.
Yeah.
It was something about Curtis is taking care of this, it's like 100, not even 100 yards, I don't think, of road in Sandwich. Because, his guy is already out in Wanalancet.
I thought it was that Wanalancet, Curtis doesn't maintain Wanalancet, didn't they?
Oh, yes.
He goes all the way over to Wanalancet and plows
He
them?
subcontracts.
Right, so he's subcontracted to do it.
Mhm.
So that's not part of this.
It's in his highway.
No,
budget,
That is highway budget.
isn't it?
yeah, yes, that comes out of his highway budget.
I
He agreed to take
thought it was a deal.
care of this one little piece.
Yeah.
In the back, maybe some of the Wanalancet don't get charged by Sandwich to drop off their trash.
Mhm.
Maybe all of
It's something like
Wanalancet
that.
can drop off in Sandwich.
Yeah.
I can't remember, it's been too
I'm
long
not
and I'm
sure.
old.
It's been forever.
You probably ought to reduce that to writing, so that,
It might be in there somewhere. I'll say 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Ish. Is everybody good with 59,716?
Yes.
On to health officer, deputy health officer, animal control, $1,722. I do believe that's fair.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Welfare direct assistance, $5,000, although we didn't spend money last year, things are changing in the assistance world, and I would say be prepared and keep that at $5,000, because we may need it and we may need more.
yeah, the problem is that welfare or assistance is not something we can say no to if they qualify.
Right.
Same thing with highway. If we had to go over on highway, you can't say no. So I believe the DRA would give us specific permission for the budget if that was the case in either of these. Everybody okay with 5,000? On to Parks and Rec, Public Library, patriotic purposes, for a total of $27,796. This is reduced from $47,484, mainly because of Parks and Rec. And I will tell you that also is a formula-based, and it is associated with the equalized value. However, Parks and Rec has seen skyrocketing attendance numbers and have brought in so much revenue that it reflects on this reduction in our costs to send the kids to Conway Rec. Well worth the money if you ask me.
Very well used.
There's no other way our kids could play organized sports, and there's no other place.
Dropping one off tonight.
Yeah.
Team center.
Good thing, good thing. TAN interest, now that we've gone to semi-annual taxing, we really most likely won't need to take a tax anticipation note, but it's always good to put a placeholder there with $1 just in case, so we can spend it.
So the total budget right now, and no changes, is operating budget without these warrant articles at the bottom,
Yeah.
is $812,026. Which if you look at the total sheet I gave you, the operating budget is actually up $60,543, which is pretty easily explained by the increase in solid waste and police and fire. But with the fact that we are going to use some money from unassigned fund balance, and when we get to warrant article 2, we'll talk about that. Potentially, it won't have as big an effect on the tax rate as what we had to raise last year, so. If you wanna do the warrant, we can talk about what you wanna put. So I made a change to the warrant today in blue because I got a call from DRA yesterday reminding me that there was legislation back in July, which I totally missed. I sent an email today, do you need a copy of that?
I do, I guess I printed the wrong one. If you don't have it, that's okay.
I think I got some extras, but could be wrong. There, my extras. There's also one in the packet and Kelly has one, so Jen, if you need one, it's in the.
I think I have it. That's the one you just sent.
Yeah, in blue, yeah. So, yeah, I had to add a warrant article, which we'll get to that, but if we start with warrant article 2, you'll see that I updated the budget to $812,026, and then we talk about, I did 15 and the extra 5 from legal, so I did 20 from unassigned fund balance. You could actually do more. We don't have the proceeds from the sale of the tax deeded property yet, but I think I budgeted 5,000 for that. They actually both closed in December, so that may be, it should get booked as unanticipated revenue in 2022, and we're going to be able to keep about 10,000 from one, and right now I'm at 30,000 plus for the second one. So there's about 40,000 that we unanticipated going into fund balance as well from the sale of those 2 properties. And it'll probably be more than that, because I'm at 30,000 right now and I'm still figuring out interest rates and, yeah, it adds up pretty fast because they hadn't paid since 2016. So that being said, you have the rest of the chapel that dropped into unassigned fund balance, about $3,800. You have almost the whole 15,000 from the deeding that dropped into the surplus, and then you have about 40,000 in unanticipated revenue. So there's some wiggle room there if you want to use a little bit more than 20 to offset the operating budget. Or you can use 20 here, this warrant article, and then you get another bite of the apple in October when you set the tax rate. Then you'll have the MS 535, which is the audited surplus, not surplus, audited unassigned fund balance number, and you'll know exactly what you're working with when you set the tax rate.
And we can also see all the tax rates at that point. If the school's gonna go up significantly, we might wanna wait until then to use it, to lower it, where our tax rate, I think we're gonna be pretty level. And if we just use the $20,000 now just to offset what we wanted to encumber, but we already had, can't do it again. And then we can really kind of see a big overview of,
Yeah, you get another bite of that apple in October, so.
Yeah.
You'll have a much better idea of what your unassigned fund balance number is. Again, it's healthy, you have always kept a healthy number, you always put a little bit of something against the tax rate, but never so much that you
we're on both
jeopardize your unassigned fund balance.
Right.
So
I'm
yeah,
comfortable with 20,000 and off the, just to.
yeah, and I think as you go down through the warrant articles, there's quite a few that we're taking out of the expendable trust that were created for those purposes.
Right.
So they, again, have an offsetting revenue that doesn't hit the tax rate. So I think at the end of the day, we needed 894,000 in 2022 from taxes. And this year, we would only need 822, so we're about 60,000 to the good. And still getting everything done that we need to get done, and not
Exactly.
really putting things off or
Exactly.
picking and choosing.
What do you all feel?
I mean, I think sticking with the 20 is a good idea, and then revisiting October. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stick with the 20 then.
Drake Hill Road, 8,000.
So this was historically at 5, And the CIP committee, after you guys had talked about, we need to be ready if
Yes.
and when money becomes available from DOT, they upped it to 8.
Yes.
And I think, that's a good idea.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because if we're not ready, they just move on to the next town.
Yeah.
And we were one of the last ones to be put on the bridge aid list before it kind of shut down. The possibility is there, they just came to town and said, let's do the bridge, and we're not gonna be ready.
Right.
We need to be,
Yeah.
just be ready.
That sounds good.
Okay. The 3,500 for reval, and that's every 5 years, we have to have reevaluation of our town's assessment. We basically save up every year, and then when the reval comes around, it's not really costing the taxpayers that much money. It's almost next to nothing. Article 5, $150,000. Curtis is going to be, he said he needs to do something past Conway Road. We've been waiting for the flap money for 4 or 5 years now. We're kind of at a standstill, and has to do something. So with all the additional money that he's received as far as highway block grant, the additional money he received last year, ARPA funds that he received, and he's done a lot of additional work through the town. So my idea anyways was that he's in such a good place for our roads right now that we could take a year off and then pick it up next year where he can start staggering things again. You know what I mean? It's like, if you do it all at once, in
Right, it's
10
just a
years,
lot.
it's all it's gonna be due
Right.
again. And if he's staggering,
Yeah.
he could do projects for different roads. So his request was for the $150,000 past Conway Road. Now, we have the highway expendable trust fund, and that is for fixing Albany roads. But we have historically in the past few years been saving up for our matching flat grant, which is for past Conway Road. So my idea was to raise and appropriate the $150,000 that he's requested for past Conway Road and offset that coming from the highway expendable trust, because that's one of the purposes of that anyways, is to
Right.
fix past Conway Road.
So I thought that 200,000 was raised separately and
200 for what?
for the match to the flat grant. I think
225?
I think it was, I printed the warrant article. I have it somewhere.
Ooh, good catch. I think it was 225.
So I don't think that's in that, that's separate.
So you're right.
So there's another
Right.
200 that's gonna drop in unassigned fund balance potentially at the end of 25.
24 or 25?
25. I did print I went back and pulled it off okay, so I thought you were saying that it was, in here, but it's separate. It's
It's separate. You're right. Yeah. So even then, is more reason to pull this money out of the highway expendable fund.
Right, and so if you guys recall, cause I took it out, after talking to Kathy, there's usually a warrant article to put 60,000 in, but there's not much point of putting 60,000 in if you wanna draw 150,000 out, and you're at, we're
The
at
balance is at 251,000.
That'll still leave you over 100,000 in there.
Yeah.
And then, you can start.
And then
put
start
50
again next
or
year.
60 again.
Yeah.
And that doesn't hurt, it, like you said, ever since I've been here, the 3 years I've been here, we've always given him a healthy, whatever he needs, trying to get caught up on it, and I think he's done a really good job of
There it is.
putting the money where our mouth was, because he's gotten a lot of paving done over that 3
Yeah.
years.
And in addition to the monies from the highway block grant, the ARPA funds.
Yeah,
all
the
that
highway
money.
block grant was an extra 32, and we have to remember, there's 45 sitting in the
bridge.
extra bridge that he can only use on bridges, so we can't put it in the capital reserve fund for Drake. If Drake became available.
Right.
this year, we could use it on
Yes.
Drake, but we can't put it in the capital reserve fund for that purpose. We have to use it. And I think we talked to him about that when he's in, and I think he has some ideas on some
Yes.
maintenance he can do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't drop into surplus really. I'm sure they're gonna give us a drop dead date.
You have
They won't
until
let us-
something like the end of 2024 to spend it.
So, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's some work that
It's
can get done.
healthy, it's healthy, everything's in really good shape. Thoughts?
Barring something
Probably
catastrophic.
that past
Yeah.
Conaway Road is.
Well, everyone's happy when we
It's
do work on
bad.
that. So I'm just on the road.
So if he can throw 150 at it this year and see what he can do with it.
Yeah, 200,000 was on the 2020 warrant, 200,000 non-lapsing until December 31st of 2025.
Gotcha. Yes, no?
Agreement.
I think that's great.
Agree?
Yeah.
Excellent. Next one, $1,000 to the chapel. The chapel capital reserve. Kelly and I are going back and forth over this, and we're thinking, okay, do we budget money for the chapel steeple this year? And then we started thinking, well,
What if we don't
how
get
long
to
is it
report
gonna
on
take before we actually get the deed to it?
that?
Like
Right, if
this
we go to
So
court
should
in
we-
September,
Yeah.
October, do we really want
We're-
somebody
we're
climbing
done.
on the roof in December?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
No, I agree,
Should,
So we'll just keep adding to the chapel capital reserve. Good.
absolutely.
Like this. 4,000 for the tree work in the cemeteries, and then 4,000, the 4,000 come out. So rather than donate to the cemeteries this year,
Yes.
we just won't.
I don't think we put any money in the cemeteries for 2 years.
2 years, really?
So it's been, so next year we really, if they do get going on this, because it's not
Yes.
just the tree and the
Let's
brush.
see what
work, which is
happens
important,
this
but it's
year.
that monument
If they really
restoration.
start using that money and we're seeing the improvement, I'd
You
say
gotta
yes.
get the monument company out there and get a quote on how,
Yeah.
you know, 'cause
I understand that's a
a little bit of
Time and money.
It's gonna take a little bit of timing on that.
You good with that? Yes. Okay, so then, this is my idea, and my suggestion. And it's to see if the town will raise and appropriate $20,000 to do some town hall and town hall property upgrades, to withdraw 14,000 from the town hall capital reserve. So this would cover maybe some landscaping, the AC units, whatever we end up choosing to do. I have had no luck, and Kelly's had no luck in receiving calls back for proposals. I figured this, in addition to our regular operating budget, would be sufficient to do something. Again, because we're in good shape with the roads and we're putting this off now, now's the time to do something for town hall.
People are gonna question what we're doing. Should we have a plan?
Sure.
I think that's just,
It's-
that would be my question.
My brain is saying AC
Mm-hmm.
and landscaping, and
Landscaping.
anything else that comes up around here.
We need to try to stabilize these banks a little bit. And I don't know if that is terracing, hydro seeding,
Again, would
drainage.
say, let's wait, and the landscaping company,
Professionals.
whatever, it's just tough right now, nobody's getting back to you, and, but I would really like to be able to have the money, because when they start returning the calls, we need to be ready to go. And we put years and years and years of money into the roads,
right.
and this is the year they're in really good shape, and I think it's time to do something for the town hall property.
And there's 14,000 in the capital
there's-
reserve fund for that.
Oh, yes.
And we had
Yes.
originally kind of earmarked that, one of the big ticket items in the CIP was the replacement of the furnace, but we did that out of ARPA
Right.
money.
Yep.
So it's not like that'll go away. Next year,
No.
we will have to start putting,
No.
some money away to the capital reserve fund again, because obviously these buildings don't get any younger or
The
any better.
recommendation that I received from the heating technician was that they could certainly stick a coil for AC to be central throughout.
Yeah.
I just haven't been able to get a quote. I've contacted, and I still haven't gotten a quote.
I'm for it because, like you said, it's just a good time to do.
It is a
that
good time.
maintenance and
Mm-hmm.
get it over with.
And it's not really gonna affect the budget of the tax rate by too much because we have some money coming from the reserve fund. And again, money spent on this town hall and the property here has been minimal since the get-go. And I think it's time.
We just lacking a contractor to do the outside work.
Contractors.
I've called 3 landscaping companies, none of them called me back.
Yeah.
Right now, they're, even, I started in the fall, but they were already starting the fall cleanups, and then they, most of them do plowing in the winter, so I don't anticipate that I will get anybody, and I'm not sure you can really see it now anyway. I don't know what you need
Yeah.
to net this, hydroseed it, I mean, I'm not a professional, so
They're professional.
All erosion
Yeah.
stone.
we just
Well
wanna
stoned.
make sure we don't do anything that requires maintenance,
Right.
because we don't have goats.
Exactly.
We can't mow it.
You can
Right.
put perennial flowers and just let them grow every year.
Yeah.
But then you put pine loom,
Yeah.
loom.
No,
Just putting a loom up there is gonna, I think just erosion stone, 3 to 6, erosion stone,
Yep.
do the whole banking and
Yep.
done.
Done.
A few bushes might grow through it.
Is that something Coleman's could do?
Yes, well, I go there because sometimes I get a little break from Coleman's, but, all it requires is a Coleman truck with stone and an excavator.
Well, because they did this drainage work, maybe I could ask Curtis what he thought thinks it would cost to put some.
Cause they do that on their
Because at least
projects.
for town meeting, we have
something.
it
Yeah.
might not be what you choose to do, but at least it would be a plan.
Yeah, I think we just have to have a plan to say,
Okay,
this is what we'd like to do. Because it will be questioned.
Thank you, Karen. The emergency management capital reserve for $1,000. Again, that's just to, if there is an emergency, we can host this and host our shelter. And, so Article 10 will be to re-adopt the optional veterans tax credit in accordance with RSA 72:28(2) for an annual tax credit on residential property of $500. And basically Kelly said there is legislation passed that requires every municipality to re-adopt this, otherwise it goes back to the $50 credit. And so I'm in full support of this.
Yes.
The next one,
And the change in the legislation was to offer it to current veterans, not just people who had, so that was the big change in why, just the way the legislation got written. So it used to be you had to be out and have a DD 214 and have an honorable discharge. So the biggest change to the veterans tax credit is that if you're an active military, it's that you can apply for it now.
and
So-
so during a certain war.
But to
After
do
the
that,
90
we
days.
have to re-adopt it. So.
All for it. So, the next one is, I'll read the whole thing. Shall the town of Albany accept the provisions of RSA 53-G:1, RSA 53-G:11, providing for the establishment of a communications district together with the municipalities of Bartlett, Brookfield, Chatham, Conway, Eaton, Effingham, Freedom, Hales Location, Hearts Location, Jackson, Madison, Moulton Borough, Ossipee, Tamworth, and Tufton Borough, in accordance with the provisions of the proposed agreement filed with the Board of Selectmen. And as you recall, we held a public hearing with, is it Rick Place, Matt Place and Rick Highland, and discussed about their hard work that they have done over the past few years to provide a communications district.
Yeah, basically this communications district creates a kind of like a new hybrid municipality that will be able to apply for grants, rather than us
Right.
all having to apply
And not
separately.
costing us any.
Right, yeah.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Great. The next one's a bride petition. We have no choice but to put these on. Family resource at Children Unlimited, 2,000. 17 for Tri-County Action, 3,000 Meals on Wheels, 27, which is gonna be different, Valley Vision,
Valley Vision is gonna be 3,600. I just got that.
3,600, Starting Point, 2965.
So that one, you should just, it's not 2965, it's 4281. It was 2965 last year. That's a 44.38% increase. And I think you might recall last year at town meeting that, I believe it was Sean Wadsworth, asked if I could do a report that would show how many residents or families in Albany are being serviced by these. So I did that report for the town report this year, and it's interesting to note that they're not servicing 44.38 more households. I'm not sure that they're not spending more money, but that's, nobody's getting a 44.38% increase. So Starting Point might want to just be able to.
I think that all of these nonprofits should be invited to town meeting to answer any questions that the residents may have, because they risk the chance of having the article voted down and they get no money.
Especially if there's an increase.
This kind of increase.
Yeah.
Right, all the nonprofits.
All of them.
I mean, some of them breeze right through, but something like that is gonna raise my level.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna speak to the validity of it. I just
No.
wanted to put out
That's
to you
not our
guys that
position, it's
somebody
up
might,
to them to
and
come
somebody
here
might
and
notice that
explain
they
it.
have questions and I can't
There
answer.
have been numerous questions at town meeting, and sometimes somebody's there to explain and sometimes isn't. Sometimes it's somebody, as an Albany resident, who is involved in it and can stand up and speak for it.
Riley
I
doesn't always
so-
fights for their money.
I would just say too that generally the moderator lumps these all together because
Yes.
they're all, and I would say that one probably should be carved out just because they amount
But that's
could be.
up to the residents, the voters in the audience. If they're not gonna question it, I'm not gonna question it.
Okay.
Unless you guys wanna question it, you can pull it out, but that's to be done at town meeting.
And then we have not received, we've received letters from White Mountain Community
My
Health.
wife has it, she's guilty. She
Okay.
actually picked it up today from them.
Okay,
They
And
needed
so
two-
just
they
remind
needed,
her
they needed
it's-
two more and that me and her will be the last
just
two.
remind her it's Tuesday,
Yeah.
and if there's anything wrong with it, and there was a slight little hiccup with one of these petitions, if I had gotten it at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, it wouldn't have made the warrant, or it could have been. So, and then, I haven't, Conway Area Humane Society, I haven't gotten anything from them. Northern Human Services, I didn't get one last year or this year so far.
That's strange.
So those, if we get those three, we got them, and they'll be on there, and if we don't, they won't.
Well, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, if you just wanna look at the kind of cover page I did for you, I compared 2022's operating budget and warrant articles to 2023's proposed. The operating budget is up $60,543. The warrant articles are down $11,000. And the petition warrant articles right now are down like 1,700, because I did get one today. So at the end of the day, with what you're putting from fund balance, funding both a little bit of the operating budget and some of those warrant articles, we're at 60,000 less to be raised from taxes.
66.
So that gives us, it's a little less than that with the other petition warrant article, but, yeah, I mean, it gives us, 60,000 is a nice little buffer.
Yeah,
Sure
it
is.
Even if somebody stands up on the floor of town meeting and ups the cemetery, or,
Alright,
I mean, it isn't going to be catastrophic.
I don't think one's
I
doing
think we're in good shape. Having this little buffer, and again, you don't know what the school's gonna do. when that comes in the fall, we can keep a level rate. If that means we don't use any unreserved fund balance and we don't use it, we hold on to it for a rainy day.
Right.
You know, things increase,
Well done.
the bridge comes
Yeah.
through, you know, whatever. We're gonna need it. Moving on. New business, approval of the January 11th selectmen meeting minutes includes 4 sets of sealed non-public. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to,
I'm sure it's gonna
to approve the minutes.
To move the minutes.
Yes. That is.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approval of the February 1 consent file, which consists of review and signed manifest in the amount of $280.73, $6,807.08, $11,819.29, $2,380.29, and $9,211.80. This includes accounts payable manifest for 2022 and payroll and accounts payable manifest for 118, 125, 130, and 21. Review, discuss, and approve or deny a notice of intent to cut at map 9 lot 92, which is 120 Chase Hill Road. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent file.
Second.
Any discussion? Call to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and approve, sign the annual maintenance agreement for IT services with Certified Computer Solutions. I think they're doing a great job for us so far. I'll make a motion to approve and sign the annual maintenance agreement for IT services with Certified Computer Solutions.
Second.
Discussion? Call to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Review, discuss, and approve and sign the annual maintenance agreement for copy machine, printer, and town clerk office with Porter Office machines. I'll make a motion to sign the annual maintenance agreement for the copy machine at the town clerk's office.
Second.
Discussion. Call to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Review, discuss, approve, and sign selectmen deeds returning for previously tax deeded property to owners of record for map 3, lot 61, sub 58, map 3, lot 61, sub 31, and map 3, lot 61, sub lot 24. These were signed out of session, and so they could be, because our meeting was canceled last week. And I will make a motion to approve and sign the selectmen deed returning tax deeded property.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Town administrator report.
So my first question is, my notary expires this year in August, I think, and I just wanted to know if it's $50 or $75 to renew it. Surprisingly, I use it more than I thought I would here, but, do you guys want me to renew?
Yes.
I probably should start now, it takes a minute.
Yes.
My next thing is, I would like to take Tuesday, February 14th off. And I submitted an absentee form, it's my birthday and I'm going skiing.
There you go.
Yay, that's
Your last birthday.
Let's hope it's not minus 40.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, maybe
At
that's
least
why.
there's some snow.
And then, so you guys had approved payroll rate changes. One was done in a sealed minutes, but it's public information. And then you've done mine and the town clerk tax collectors as part of the budget process. I did an official form because I feel weird because I'm the one putting it in the payroll.
Okay.
And I just want the auditors to see, and I'd like you guys to sign off on it because you did the vote
Yes.
in December and subsequently in January. So if you sign off on it, and then also I will have the employees sign off so that they know. Like,
Sure.
I'm sure we're all aware, but
Sure.
I did an official form, and I think it's in the packet to be signed. Because you've already voted and approved it, it's
Yes.
just, it feels
It's a
weird.
formality.
It feels weird that I'm the one doing it. And that is all I had.
Alright, appointments and public hearing, we already did. Old business, the chapel, he wants to know, that the lawyer wants to know any steps were taken to find anyone affiliated with the defunct Shakora Sunday School Association. I
So
never
that's a-
have, I wouldn't even know
Where
how to
would we
reach,
start?
who to
That's
reach.
where I
out to.
start. I kind of sarcastically said, were we supposed to hire a PI? Because it's from 1934, isn't it?
Exactly.
And when you were reading off the names of the people, I'm sure there's heirs and assigns of those, but they were through a Sunday school
But maybe
association.
30 years ago, somebody here might be able to say, well, I remember that.
Well, I do have to say in our defense, because he pinged me about it again when I asked that, so, he had to answer my question. So he said, well, did you publicly notice the meeting you had in November? And I said, I did, and I sent him the notice out of the Daily Sun. And I also did talk to Mary Levitt about because I had called her about the Historical Society, because she was a member of that.
Yes.
And just anything she remembered, but she's probably the oldest serving member. She was the treasurer, and she was very active, she was on the Historical Society, and she doesn't remember having contact either, so I don't even know where else I would.
You could just say I contacted the oldest member of the, of the.
Yeah, if he thinks it's important for the court to put an ad in the paper and say, hey, are there any surviving members or of the Chicora Sunday School Association, I'm happy to do that. I think it's a waste of money, but if that's what we need, he's just trying to do things that make it look better to the court.
Yeah.
That we're not just trying to abscond with some, we hear it's attached to our it's not like we can
Yeah.
run away from it.
Yeah, right.
But whatever we
that's-
need to do, if I'm willing to offer that, but I don't really think he's gonna think that's necessary. And I think charitable trusts also can weigh in on this, and I think they're fine with it because they haven't filed with charitable trusts in 100 years either. I mean, we're talking about 70, 80, 90 years. That's.
I think it's just nice that you're gonna put it on the paper.
Yeah,
I
we
think
put it in the
it's due
paper without
diligence.
the notice. If we have to, I will. I'm not going to do it if he doesn't think it matters, but we'll do whatever he thinks we need to do, because I don't wanna go to court twice. That's what I'd like to avoid. So that's kind of where we are with that. And I did email Josh McAllister to ping, what's her name, Jacinda Russell, the
Yes.
program manager, again. I mean, she had written to us in October and said she'd get to us at the end of the following week.
Yeah.
And it's been what,
Quick times. 4 months, yeah. 4 months.
so.
All right, so other business board reports, planning board, we have a meeting on the 13th of February. Does anybody have anything else?
No.
Not. Okay.
I will just say, it came up a little bit yesterday, and you guys have probably seen something in the Daily Sun. I got an inquiry about minutes of the option committee from the school, and I referred them to Tim Sorgi. That has nothing to do with me, I don't know anything
Correct.
about it, I don't wanna get down in the weeds on the
Correct.
school board issue, so I referred them to Tim Sorgi. I did, however, ping Bill and Tim Sorgi, and I copied Kevin Richards and Jackie in his office, that because of that issue and what I read in the paper, I think it's going to create some interest in the school board's budget public hearing, so they should probably plan on having it in the big room and not the little room, and Bill needs to know that to get that room set up.
Yeah.
And I will not, their budget public hearing is February 14th, so I also pinged them that I am not going to be here.
Darn.
So they've got a key and a code, and they have what they need, and Bill can get into the building, and, but just so I'll have a heads up on it, because I think people have had some knee-jerk reactions already, and I think this makes Parks and Rec.
First time I heard of it, kind of shocked me when I saw it.
Yeah,
Not that I'm against the FAR, but I need the information too.
I think, we're 3 years out, so they had to notify Conway to have conversations with Madison. I think they're way far from decisions,
They can't be too far because they have to notify 3 years prior, which is
Yeah.
something like June or something like that.
And that's why, I think that's why it's all coming out now, yeah, and it's a good conversation to have, I mean, residents have a right
It's a
to
big move.
chat about it.
You know, you think it isn't, but it is, because you're moving children from their safe zone.
That's right.
Parents are very, I'm thankfully out of Conway also. Not that Conway's bad, I'm just thankful I don't have to go for pickup and drop off and all that, but I think people, once you start moving your kids, they're comfortable in the second and third grade, now they're going to a new school with all new kids.
Yeah.
No amount of money can stop a mother from protecting their children.
This is true. We shall see.
I didn't wanna weigh in on the solid waste and Parks and Rec in the library, I sure as heck
No,
am not weighing in on any of this.
you don't wanna win that.
Anything else from anybody?
No,
Anything you think of?
no,
Correspondence, notification from Charter Communications, blah, blah, blah. Public comment, there
There's
is
a new
none.
lineup,
What are they
And they're
taking
cutting
away?
they're
out.
launching
What are they
Stellar,
renting?
they're launching Stellar TV in high definition on SPP Select.
Ah,
One more station I'll never watch.
Yes,
Stellar
exactly.
TV, what's
Thank
Stellar
you.
TV?
Who knows?
non-public session as necessary, nothing. Next meeting, February 8th at 5:30. Immediately followed by the public hearing, our budget public hearing, next week.
Which you
5:30.
are going to do in here.
We are going to do in here, because I don't expect a lot of attendance. If there is, I don't know how much work it would take for you to run out in the other room, Bill, but, I feel like, we can
nobody
probably
showed
get
up
away
last
with it.
year, so
right
I
here.
think you're right.
Should we try to start this meeting a little early too? Do you think this is gonna be
I think
a
we already posted, do we post the
Yeah,
public
but
hearing?
okay.
I put it in the news, I have to put that in the newspaper, so that's
We'll
That's
get it.
gone in just the way it appears here
Yeah,
immediately
we
following
have to-
5:30 selectmen's meeting.
We have to just.
I think the selectmen's meeting should be short, you know, you're just gonna have your
Well, yeah,
consent
we're kind of
file.
at the point of the year that there's really not
Yeah.
much on the agenda.
No, we're kind of building up for
Yeah,
budget and warrant.
exactly.
But I will say to you, after the budget public hearing next week, you're gonna need to stay like 10 minutes and vote on whether you recommend or not recommend. I assume since it's your warrant, you're generally gonna recommend most of what's on it, so it shouldn't take long to get through, but I need an official vote because I have to put that in there and then I have to load it up to the DRA portal and print it and have it ready to be posted after that public hearing. So, and plus you may hear something that you might wanna add an extra $1,000 into something or the operating budget somewhere. So
Yeah.
it's
I
your
don't know
last
if
chance to change
I
stuff.
didn't know if you know, I didn't know if we approved ahead, before or after. So it is after?
Yeah, cause it's your the whole point of the budget public hearing is you take input from the public and there may be some
Yeah.
minor, major, none changes. And then you have to vote because I have to have that, you know, on, like the CIP committee, we say whether the CIP committee approved or recommended or did not recommend. And by how much usually.
It would save me a lot of trouble if I knew that this morning, because I had my meeting at work this morning, and they actually did the recommendations today, which caused a huge stir because there was one person that didn't like anything, so. They
We haven't
recommended
had
it
your
ahead of
public hearing yet,
time. No, it's this Friday.
so I think they can revise it if they change their mind
Yeah,
after the public.
Yeah, as
hearing.
long as they haven't posted the warrant budget. I mean, I think that's the whole reason you have a public hearing is to get the public's input and decide, like, this is your,
But then if
Your
they
budget
did, they can still
proposal.
revise it, but then it has to say revised warrant if they've already
I
posted
thought they
it.
recommended was for town meeting anyway. That's what the final
Yeah, but not the public
draft,
hearing.
not the public hearing. That's why it was weird today.
no, I definitely wait till after the public hearing because you might hear something that you haven't considered or,
Right.
and also, you know, just the funding piece, you can change.
Yep.
You might think of
Yeah.
something else or
Okay.
operating budget, warrant. And I think, do you
Pretty comfortable with that.
recommend, I think you have to recommend all money articles. So
Yes, for the
So like petition warrant articles too, like, I think not this board so much, but the previous board were kind of split on recommending some of the.
Yep.
It didn't make any difference at the end of the day, but I'll be looking for you to spend 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the meeting, just going through it, so
That's fine.
just
What's the deadline for the petition articles?
Tuesday, and I'm here until 4, so they're supposed to come to the selectman's office and then be reviewed, and she's here Tuesday night too, so she can review them for.
Checklists, I'm sure they're on the checklist.
We really try, and we have a selectman's policy that they be in by the end of January, because then if there is something wrong or there isn't enough, if they submit it to me at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, there's no fixing it. There's, that's the deadline, is the 7th. If I get it at 4 o'clock on the 7th and there's something wrong with it, there's no time to go back and get a new.
Right.
It just won't be on the warrant, or it'll be on the warrant wrong.
Right.
So it has to be put on the warrant the way it reads, so. That's where we are.
All right. We'll make a motion to adjourn at 5:21.
Second.
Nobody minds making that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's the best motion in the world.
What's the
That was fun.
deadline for declaring